is out any money whatsoever. And I've tried very hard not to get the FEDC involved in something that's gonna require money. I'm trying to rely on corporate, who has the need for training, to pay for that training and move forward. The last thing is, Phelps called me the other day and said that the street light project in the industrial park has been completed 2 or 3 days ago, so we ought to have lights out there now. And we're getting a lot of drainage, dozer work done. It's, you know, it has an impact on the remaining land we have, to the point that I'm not really trying to sell that land right now, because any given day, they're moving dirt, spreading it out, and I don't want anybody to buy it one day and then say, hey, you misrepresented this thing. I want the dust to settle and move forward, but they're well worth the money so far. That's all I have.
In your packet, you were given a copy of our bylaws, and I just wanted to point out a couple things real quick for you to really kind of go over when you have time. On page 3 about absenteeism, if you're going to be absent, and you know you're going to be absent, we request that you send us notice, because we actually look for a formal notification, and not, so that will not count against the absenteeism policy. Because 3 consecutive absences, and that position is considered vacant. And we've stood by that pretty faithfully. And we have always fortunately had a quorum. Right now, our meetings are on the second Monday of the month at 6:30. Jay said that's too early. So that is our board's decision. We can change that certainly, but I just wanted to point that out.
I'm okay with that.
But the absenteeism is something that we mean business when we're here, and we want to take the time to do what we need to do and get it done, you know, and if you're gonna make this commitment, be here.
And that second part is just as important, 50%.
Yeah,
In a 6 month period.
right,
Yes.
right. And then the next one I would point out is on 5.3, potential conflicts of interest. If there is a conflict of interest, you are to abstain from voting on that particular item.
Or participating in the discussions, I would think, wouldn't you?
I think in the past, we have abstained from direct conversations in those.
Just influencing the
Yeah, you
discussions.
can't influence it, right. So I just wanted to point those few things out, but the bylaws were updated
And one last thing is on the annual meeting, that was changed in August because we needed to change it from, what was it, October?
we were doing it in October, I believe.
To December, to take into account the elections and the appointments from council.
Yeah.
So that's been done, and that's been approved by a board, this board, and city council.
But actually, this says in the month of December we will do that, but we had to hold off because of the special election that occurred, so this isn't a
Makes a
little
lot of sense.
unusual.
I think it
Then
says
you have
month
to
of
go back
December
and read
or
it.
first regular
First
meeting
regular-
afterwards.
Yes,
Yeah, you've got it in there.
yeah. So just wanted to point those things out.
And then again, just a few pieces of paper, but she worked a long time on it. I remember also that it took a while to go recreate the wheel. And Jay, we used to start a little later, but the meetings kept running for 3 and 4 hours, and we got home from breakfast. So we kind of started moving it up a little bit.
Well, and that's one reason that you get a packet
Sure.
before the meetings, so that things like Mary Helen saying, I've read the minutes, I'd like to make a motion,
Sure.
instead of taking 10 minutes
Yeah.
to read them when we're here. So I'm trying to speed up the meetings that way.
And Tommy, one of the things you mentioned the other day, if we can pick up these instead of having a cost on sending it out, I don't have a problem.
Okay.
If we can make arrangements.
And, yeah.
He had an email.
He emailed also.
Emailing.
Well, I don't have
Okay.
email.
Yeah, and I can email, this was such a, 3 months of financials,
Right.
just wasn't gonna work, but yes, I can, if you wanna pick up, you just call me and tell me and I'll leave it out at
You
the
can
payment
call me,
window.
I'll call you, I can pick it up in your office or any place, I don't have a problem.
Yeah, great, okay.
There is one last thing, and that is, when we go into executive session, any notes, any written notes that are taken have to be taken up, because those can't go out, any more than your verbal discussion about what goes on in an executive session. So if you jot down notes, you need to pass those up to our president, and let us take those and dispose of them, because those are held as the same, they have the same weight as verbal communication. We're forbidden to discuss anything that goes on in executive session, outside of executive session, so we've done that a couple of times.
And now that we have a PowerPoint presentation under new business, do we have any more old business? That's the right. Any comments? So we'll go into new business, and Tom is going to give us a PowerPoint presentation.
Yes, you have a handout as well, so, we're waiting for Andy just to come back.
Sure. You still doing time? Oh, yeah. I have a contract with Babson. No, I'm building, so.
Okay, well, basically, this PowerPoint presentation is divided into properties in progress, positive project coordination efforts, which is a big deal. The last year, we have actually done numerous projects that are coordinated, and that came from an environment where, let me just say, there wasn't coordination. And that could be county, city, school, and we're all trying to work together, which is really positive. And then the last are goals, objectives, and marketing plan. The second page is really, I wanted you all, if you hadn't been out to the industrial park, to look at the plat, where you see 537, and then our entrance, and that entrance is El Rancho Grande Boulevard, and it runs all the way through the park. Now, the park is 305 acres, and there's a cross street in the middle that is Cardinal. Up at the top is East Cardinal, and the lower portion is West Cardinal. I pointed out 2 of the retention ponds that we have to build. One is in the conservation area and looks kind of like a teepee, and then a smaller one that's 3.7 acres on the very end of West Cardinal. Most of the, well, all but 27 acres of the park have been sold. Now, there are 2 or 3 companies that have purchased land and haven't developed it. There's absolutely no restriction that these people can't flip property. Some of this property was bought at $3,000 and $5,000 an acre, and for instance, Freeway Trucking at the entrance flipped 2 pieces of property for $23,000 an acre. So, we really don't hear from people unless they come to us and say, we're gonna start developing our site, and you know, what can you do for us?
One of the things that we have done too, in all the properties that we've marketed and had contracts on, is we had provisions in there that they were not allowed to flip the property. And so we've put a lot of protections in there to prevent that.
They no longer, those that bought previously can go in and chop their stuff up and resell, but they knew it was never platted. So therefore, they can go in and sell how they want, when they want, unrestricted, there's no restrictions. Now, all the new sales since that time, it has been to where they cannot go and redivide it, and they are under restrictions. As well as we did preserve the minerals. We were able to go back and get most of the minerals back.
And the price of land, asking price for land now is 20 to 25,000 an acre. But, you know, we got 27 acres left, so can't really get much of a home run, but that's kind of where we are on the pricing. The next page is just some background on the industrial park. The location, it was originally 105 acres. It was purchased in 2001 for $21.02 an acre.
You mean 300?
305 acres. You said 105.
Oh, I'm
but it's
sorry.
305.
$2,102 an acre when we purchased it. Several of the early sales allowed the surface and minerals to be transferred, and that's why you see net mineral acres of 281 acres as opposed to 305. But we got a paid up 3-year lease back in 13, which was, you know, a nice mineral lease check. Some of the challenges from previous boards is that there wasn't any professional land planning done. So water, electrical easements, FEDC had to buy back property for utility easements. Every company out there, including the FEDC, is supposed to file a development plan with Wilson County. That was not done, and we're still paying for some bad attitudes from the county about that. And basically, there wasn't any engineering done. As Ray said, there weren't any deed restrictions or mineral reservations. So basically, when the FEDC didn't pave the roads and put in detention ponds, Wilson County filed a lawsuit against FEDC. And there was a negotiated settlement before trial that the FEDC board at the time committed to pave the roads and construct detention ponds that are underway right now. We have a hard contract for $991,000 and change for paving the road and the drainage work that needs to be done. Our engineer projects $600,000 to $700,000 to build the 2 retention ponds that we have to build.
What is the requirement for the ponds? What drives that?
The water flow flows from east across the entire park, and that pools up on the west boundary line of our property. And the county, you know, will not let that water be dumped on a neighbor, and so we have to retain that water and let it evaporate for the most part. And the engineer and the county determine the size of these things.
Jay, at the time, the county and the economic development weren't on the best of terms. There's more of a, you know, open and talking now, everybody's back and forth. And I'm not considered to say that perhaps, that's a lot of money, $700,000. Due to the relationships that exist now, nobody can promise anybody anything in this, but there seems to be people willing to listen. Perhaps we come with a little better mousetrap. Perhaps we come with a little different engineering plan that makes a little more economic sense. At the time, there was just a lot of bad blood, and everybody would just stuck their feet in the ground and nobody was gonna budge. But I think I would recommend, before we undertake doing these bonds, we have some discussions and see if we can't visit with them a little bit about something that makes a little bit more sense and that's affordable. Because that wasn't budgeted at all in the overall scheme of things. And so that's substantial.
And the county has, in this room, has told us that they aren't interested in maintaining the roads once they're paved. Then I asked Paul File if they, once we got the roads paved, he said we can sit down with our attorneys, was his words. So maybe that's a little glimmer of hope. I hope so, because.
Why would the county not accept responsibility for maintaining the roads once they're paved?
I asked him that.
There was a bilateral agreement before my time also, and you can really shed some light on this, Fred. But there was an agreement made between the city and the county.
Yeah, one of the things in reference to that is that the county doesn't maintain pavement. They maintain, most of their roads are dirt roads, so they don't have the equipment and/or anything, none of their roads are paved. And so this is something that's an anomaly to them in reference to that, so that's why they couldn't maintain a paved street, because they don't have it.
There's a lot of history behind it, and I'm sure, if you're not aware, you can do some research, like Ray said, there's more to it than just these requirements. If you, previous boards and the county would have sat down, and the city, way before any of our times, things would have worked out better, but the agreements were not in the best interest of the board or the city financially, because the county could maintain the roads if they wanted to, but it's not, they choose not to.
And they have some roads.
And they've got the leverage on us because of previous agreements that were made.
But those agreements right now, as they stand, that even though that sits within the county, even though the county does collect a tax base out of it, it's a city-maintained project forever and ever and ever, unless somebody can come up with a new agreement the county agrees to, which would certainly be a grand idea.
Even though it's outside of the city?
Even though it's outside of the city, it was.
The city cannot maintain it outside of the city limits. And not only is it outside the city, it's outside our ETJ.
So we're calling two things.
Yeah.
They're saying they
City's
won't,
project, not
and
the
we're saying
city.
we can.
Yeah.
So somewhere within there's some middle ground somewhere.
Yeah.
Somebody's gonna have to.
And I asked the county commissioner if that they could legally collect taxes and not service roads, and he said absolutely, and that's what we intend
They
to
do
do.
it every day.
So that's where it's.
Moving on.
We're trying to make a, okay, on page 5, that starts, there's a continuation of the industrial park, with 20 to 25,000 an acre, which I mentioned. We have 27 acres left. We've talked about the cost, talked about the street light installation, which is done now. And I have a park entrance sign monument that is being designed and will be installed in the first quarter of this year. The drainage and the road paving should be finished by contract by May 20th of 15. And there, I really going to put a lot of emphasis on trying to work with San Antonio real estate specialists in certain types of real estate to get them out here, take them to lunch, show them everything we have available, and that's with industrial brokers, office brokers for our remaining land in the business park, and restaurant, retail and restaurant exposure as well.
Just when you drive by that area, it doesn't look inviting to me. Am I by myself on that?
Where's that at?
Pardon?
Where are we talking about?
The industrial park.
The industrial.
No, you're not by yourself, and, you know, I think that once the roads get finished, and then, one of the things he's working on is getting a sign design, so that at least it has, some signage for the businesses, and beyond that, I don't know what else we would need to do.
Perhaps some lighting.
I noticed that there is some lighting, but are there plans to install street lights or something?
There's-
Yeah, they've just been installed, the streetlights.
Okay, okay.
And,
What else would you like? What are you thinking?
I don't have any suggestions, just my observation of driving by.
I totally agree with you, but, it's kind of the way things happen. I mean, this should have been done
Better than
at the start.
Absolutely.
And, you know, to be inviting, to say, come in, give the information about who you call to do it. But it's like paving the roads now that we've sold all the
Yeah,
land.
yeah.
Same sort of thing. There's a term for it, but Mary
Have
Ellen's
we ever
here.
had an architect look at the area?
The engineers have looked at it now, but even with that being said, with, for example, TxDOT wasn't notified, we had no deceleration lanes, we had no turning lanes, we had no anything. But I think.
If you look at, for example, Baker Hughes,
Oh, yeah, but,
Yeah.
and I think you can do some rock, like what these people, but we've kind of been in a process and on the go here, because we didn't have enough dirt for the entrance, we didn't have enough dirt for the easements. We had to go back and renegotiate
The
with somebody
essentials weren't there.
that was better anyway,
Yeah.
so we had to go do it. But it's not to say that once things get along a little further, that we couldn't dress it up a little with some rock or
Well, and
with
we wanted a
something.
sign out on the highway
I'll
too.
say we're on the highway, but, you know, a
Yeah,
lighted sign
To
and.
yeah.
notate that
Yeah.
it's
But in
there.
spite of all that,
Yeah.
you know, we're almost sold out. And it's,
I understand, but you still want it to look nice.
yeah, and the logic just wasn't there, to
But
do
Jay,
things.
we had such an uphill battle just to get where we are.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Okay, well,
know, it's, we're getting there.
don't need to spend more time on that, just,
And I'm working with Greg to put together a feature article, if they'll allow it, but basically to show the economic success of that industrial park. Right now, I'm at a little over $5 million of capital invested in those sites and bringing them up to where their standards are. Which means $5 million went to a lot of local contractors to do a lot of local work as well, labor as well as supplies. And 256 jobs have been created. That is the definition of economic development.
Sure.
Job creation and capital attraction, and that's happened. And I want to be able to tell the story through the paper to citizens that probably don't even know about it, or I don't know, but I want to tell them that this was a very successful ripple effect of $5 million in the community and 256 jobs is tremendous, and I want everybody to know that.
One of the recommendations that in speaking with Tommy, we talked about that, and not just staying within Wilson County in the paper here, but the Texas Municipal League should get a copy of his article, and that'll be publicized throughout the state, which is what the city of Seguin does on any of their,
You know, something else, Henry, and everybody can kind of put a thought into it. I've read a couple of real estate contracts, and I know these contracts don't provide where they can't resell, but I have not read where it says, because that road belongs to the city. It doesn't, the ones I've seen don't say specifically that the city has to give them additional curb cuts. So perhaps there might be some negotiating grounds on these people that think they really have the upper hand. Maybe they don't have such a strong arm at all. That would be a decision made by the city and by us, but perhaps we can bring them back to the table and renegotiate some terms as far as just restrictions with their burn trucks or this or that. We make him perhaps clean this thing up by trading a little for this, for a little for that, because it doesn't, you know, doesn't say you can't, it doesn't say you can't. So I think means that is under city rule as we speak. I know in the city, I have to go, or you have to go get permission for a curb cut. So there may be something to research there to give us a little more authority of what does and doesn't go on out there. Just a thought.
On page 6, the Veterans Park, I think I've pretty much gone over, well, you know, the 4.38 acres. We're selling lots, 0.8 acre lots, right in front of the Veterans home for $50,000 a lot. That we have water, wastewater available. That was another one of those very smooth, coordinated projects. Thanks to Henrietta and her staff, you know, we signed a contract. We knew what we were going to pay. They put it in, and we got billed for what we agreed to pay. So it's a very workable situation. So those are fully developable lots now. I have 5 of them. But we have a higher building standard there. Our finishes are 75% brick or rock, no modular, and they have a year to build and occupy the building. So we want to keep that higher standard up and make it really look nice. The page 7 is the marketing of 2-acre tract on Lone Oak Drive, off of 181. And basically, it's an interior tract just behind the owners that have frontage on 181. It was purchased from us to be used specifically for a bowling alley. We gave the buyers basically 2 years, so a 1-year extension to build, and with the second extension, they still could not justify starting construction. So we bought the lot, the 2-acre lot back, and basically we intend to hold that tract for a larger assemblage of property, hopefully with an owner or us buying the frontage on 181 and having a nice 3 or 4 acre retail tract for a restaurant or retail. Somewhere, somehow, neither the city nor FEDC can see where the Lone Oak Drive that FEDC built was dedicated to the city for maintenance. So in part of this land trade, rent trade, one of the items is going to be the dedication of Lone Oak to the city. The same thing with the roads within our business park. For some reason, they're on the books that we own it, and it ought to be on the books that the city owns it and maintains those streets. And they're not fighting it at all. I mean, Henrietta wants to get this cleaned up. Projects in progress, we have a building facade and signage grant program. Unfortunately, I've only gotten 2 people to jump at this. Arcadia Theater has spent half the money, and she keeps telling me that after she has a few good months, which happen about now, that they're going to put up a electronic marquee and have features that are lit up and show you times and what's coming and so forth. The grant is basically, there's an application that needs to be filled out, and sketches of before and after the improvements. We're looking for the facade, the front of the building to be refurbished, signage to be refurbished and looking good. And the board listens to those individual applications and grants a percentage of the money that's needed, up to $7,500 or 50%. And you can also turn it down if we ever run into somebody that we don't like what they plan to do. We have the ability to just not take action on it. But Jack's Cafe is the next, and she's just been redoing a restaurant top to bottom, and she wants to do signage, and so that'll be coming along. The other was what was the Curves City Cleaners. That lady redid the front of her both buildings, and which were in pretty bad shape. On page 9, I passed around the traffic study for anybody that wanted to take a look at that. Coming up, we've got to have open meetings training for any director that doesn't have a certificate printed and given to me. This is real serious. It's required by the state. It's, I think, a 1 hour. You could do it on your computer, or we can gather here and go over the same thing on a projector. And at the end, there's no test. It's just fill in your name and so forth. And it prints out a certificate that I keep in the file. And this is serious, because last year we had a public request to see all those certificates, and I had them in the file, turned them over, no problem. We would have had a problem if there were any
How
directors.
long are they good for? Is it every 2 years? Do we have to redo them every 2 years?
Right. So if someone like Mary Helen had
You gotta sit through that again.
done, a year before, so she just simply provided me with her certificate. The rest were printed out, and that's the end of it for 2 years, until we get new board members.
Do you know if you still have mine?
I do.
He took them together.
I'm sorry.
He took it with us when we
Yeah.
held it at your office. That was not, he was in it, right?
I'll have to look.
Okay.
I didn't see it, but I'll look too. I've attended, this past year, I've attended 3 economic development training seminars and one grant writing seminar. The city has asked me to be a director of the River Bend Community Development Corporation, and I serve as treasurer for that committee.
What did the grant seminar cost?
Sir?
What did it cost to attend the grant seminar?
About $1,200 for a week. It's expensive.
Yeah.
But it was, it was great in that they give you everything. I mean, you wound up the entire week working on all the elements in a grant, and then you and your group make a presentation, and it's critiqued by everybody. So it's high density training. Here are just some of the projects that were completed in this cooperative environment. As I said, the utility lines at the business park, working with the city. Another thing that we actually had Paul Fowl, the city and FEDC got together, and our road out in the industrial park, roads, has base, and basically when it rains, those heavy trucks, create, lots of potholes. And so, I told Henrietta this, I told, Paul File, and so what wound up happening is that, the city needed their road crew trained on blade work. And, so we provided the roads with potholes.
Yeah.
And about three loads of fill. And the county provided their expert blade person. And the city provided the equipment and the crew that they wanted trained. So for 3 or 4 days, they were out improving our road and training their people, and the county provided the instructor, which was a win-win-win all the way around. I've kept the mayor informed about our projects, and she's been some very valuable assistance in trying to get things completed. I've been working with the superintendent and vice superintendent for administration and operation at FISD. Very, very open-minded people and willing to help us get this thing off the ground, which we wouldn't have been able to do if they hadn't. I've included the chamber as a co-sponsor, and they finally, I think, are gonna get their act together. But what I've wanted, and they haven't done anything except now publicize to their members the alliance, but that's what I wanted. I needed their mailing list of members to be able to mass email what's going on and try to get them to, so we have a good turnout at the breakfast. Page 11 is goals, objectives, and marketing plans for 2015. I've got to do a better job of keeping the public informed about FEDC projects, and I plan to do that by articles, by business alliance and communications with businesses, and success stories that have happened, the Trades Training Center, and communicating things like this PowerPoint to City Council, so they know what we're doing, and hopefully that'll be picked up in the press, and there's another chance to see what we're doing.
If you want to help editing any of the stuff you want to write for the paper, I'd be glad to help.
Thank you, appreciate it. Number 2, we've got to do our Open Meetings and Public Information Act training, and then I would hope that several of our directors would be interested in attending the Basic Economic Development Seminar, which is put on by TEDC annually. And the FEDC would pay for that and mileage and so forth.
Do you know when that's scheduled?
And
Do you know when that's scheduled?
I don't, but I think there was one as early as February in San Antonio. I mean, ideally, that would be nice to just have a hotel there. But it's I've been to it. It's great because it sharpens your ideas about what economic development is. At the same time, it shows you what your sales tax can be used for. Portion we get can be used for in a 4B, which we are, and also represented 4A. And there are 2 different, basically 4B is community improvements, infrastructure, 4A is not community improvements, it's infrastructure and so forth. And it has a lot to do with incentives, cash, land grants to get businesses in and so forth. But, and then I really do plan to enlarge this trades training center in Floresville. And that's gonna take a lot of marketing effort and communications.
It's a great initiative.
And I'm probably gonna come back pretty soon and ask for at least a part-time administrative assistant. I'm a one-man office, and the beer warehouses just run me out because, you know, it rents out almost every weekend. And here in the fall, it's rented out, you know, the middle of the week for Thanksgiving, you know, New Year's Eve. I mean, and I want the city to take over because they have a person that does that same sort of thing for the event center.
Right.
And this can be a small forum, and the event center is a gigantic forum. And I think we miss a lot of opportunities that the beer warehouse might be, you know, 100 to 110 people that we don't know about, or the public doesn't know about. So it's a good opportunity. to
On
market.
that part-time assistant, I don't think we have a job description for that, so we would probably need to
Yeah.
get that done.
And, you know, I'm not there, Henrietta, I talked about sharing somebody, I don't know, you know, I've gotta give it more thought, but, anyway, that may be coming up.
Henrietta, you probably have a job description we could.
Yeah, I have a simple clerk job description, which is kind of like a secretarial type of thing, that I can share with Tommy in reference to part-time.
That'd be great.
And those type of things. And I think Mr. Talley mentioned earlier that they would participate in the Texas Municipal League retirement, so there's a restriction on how many hours they can get per year. Then it comes to the point that they have to contribute into it, and that they are qualified. I think it's 10,000 hours per year if they receive that.
How many hours?
10,000, once they work 10,000 hours,
Oh,
then they
okay.
get to be able to contribute into.
That's a lot of
their-
overtime.
They get to contribute into the retirement plan.
Okay,
Okay, so once, you know, as a full-time, you can just, you know,
yeah.
lumber along with 20 hours, 20, so if you keep them under 25, no more than 30 hours, it keeps them under the
But
threshold.
we'll have to talk about
Oh,
that
yeah.
time.
But I can get you a
Yeah,
generic one, and we can talk about that.
Okay,
I'm just putting it out there for
yeah.
future. And then on page 12, it's just a continuation of ideas, trying to market the trades training center and bring that up to something that we're all proud of and find it useful. Because basically, the school is, you know, right now, we've got one class, and that's pretty limiting. That's it. So, if you came to me and said, I've got 10 employees, I need them to be trained to manufacture widgets, I don't have a place. I would be scrambling around trying to find a place. And it all depends on, like, the labs. You know, the schools, I was trying to get machinists in, but the school said we don't have the foundation for machining equipment, and it's very, very heavy, and it can't move, and we don't have it, so don't even think about it. So there are things like that, you know, I could probably use the school for computer training, because they have computer classes and they don't use them at night. So you know, it all depends, but if somebody asked me for something that the school couldn't provide, I would have to turn them down, because I don't want to do too much of that.
How can you find out what's needed, what skills are needed?
Now,
How can you find that out?
I'm going to hopefully do direct marketing and try to get in and even an associate capacity in the Eagle Ford Consortium to let people know that we have a training center and to let me know what kind of training they need. And with no guarantees on my part about the timeliness, I want to hear from it. I want to try to put together a class of 10 and work with Alamo all the while trying to come up with a place and the instruction and so forth.
I know this is Floresville. However, if we're trying to get these classes filled, is there a restriction in going to the other cities in the county and saying, hey,
No.
here's an opportunity?
Yeah, and I'm, there is, I mean, that's something that I just said from the very start, I don't want restrictions on anybody. They can come from anywhere, and as long as they or their employer pay the cost, yeah, I'm banking that, you know, whatever percentage is gonna say, hey, Floresville's a nice little place, I wanna live there and work San Antonio or Floresville or Eagle Ford, and we're better off by doing that. Again, another thing that's really basic but is needed is the business-to-business communications. We need to strengthen our business